everybody. So, welcome back. Happy summer done or almost done. My name is Jesse, and I am your virtual adventure guide with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. Now, we do have a lot of familiar faces in today's audience, but we also have a lot of newbies joining from, I think, 10 countries internationally. And so if you are new to what we do at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms and homes around the world through like a gazillion live, free, interactive broadcasts. Last year, we did over 500 programs featuring some of the top scientists and explorers around the world. You can catch all of those on our YouTube channel, where you can subscribe and see all our upcoming sessions as well. But for now, I just wanted to say a huge welcome back. It's so exciting to be diving in with another year of adventure and discovery together. And what better way to kick off the school year than with an ocean-going research vessel? We have specialized in bringing some live broadcasts of some of the coolest vessels, ships out on the sea doing amazing science in some of the most remote and cool places on this planet. And today is no exception with the research vessel Thomas G. Thompson. So they are not just gallivanting around the ocean. They are out looking for ocean volcanoes and exploring some of the amazing geology and biodiversity that lives on these unique habitats. So I'm going to bring this up a few times throughout the broadcast, but if you want to check out more about their ship, if you want to check out more about the specific mission, I'll make sure that gets in our YouTube chat for everyone too. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Mike Vardaro and his friend and colleague, Andrew Paley, to dive in and tell us a little bit more about what they're up to there. Hi, gentlemen.
Hi, Jesse. Hi, everybody. We're coming to you from above Axial Volcano, which is about 300 miles offshore of Oregon. I am a research scientist at University of Washington.
Oh, did we freeze? We froze 10 seconds in. We're back. We're back.
For a sec.
Andrew, come tell us again who you are. Mike, we heard who you are. Andrew, the computer didn't want to let you know. Yeah.
Hello. I am a rising senior at the University of Washington. I work as a student for the cable array, and they bring me out here to help run operations out here. And I'm also the resident worm expert.
So we are visiting some tube worm bushes at hydrothermal vents, but as part of the Ocean Observatories Initiative, which is why we're out here, is to put some new equipment down on the seafloor and bring some old equipment up. The Ocean Observatories Initiative is an NSF-funded project, National Science Foundation funded project to look at changes in the ocean over a 25-year period, first deployed in 2014 and operational in 2015. So we've been out here a number of summers in a row to change some cabled array equipment. So we plug instruments into an electro-optical cable that runs from Pacific City, Oregon out to Axial Seamount and other locations on the seafloor off the coast of Oregon.
So how far down is this when you're running this cable, when you're going to the bottom of the seafloor? How far from the ship are you? Is it like a few hundred feet? Is it much longer than that? Give us a sense of it.
No, so we go anywhere from, there's a site at the Oregon Shelf, which is 80 meters, which is about 300 feet deep. That's our shallowest site. Our deepest site is at the base of the continental slope, which is about 3,000 meters, which is about 9,500 feet deep.
Yeah.
Right now, we're at Axial Seamount, which is an ocean volcano. So it rises about 1,100 meters or 3,600 feet up off the seafloor, and it's about 1,500 meters below us. So it takes about an hour to get down there. And the screen behind us is going to show the launch of the robotic submersible that we use to bring equipment down to the seafloor. Should be launching in a few minutes. So we're going to go down to a hydrothermal vent location called International District that has a lot of chemosynthetic communities, tube worms. If you've seen videos of tube worms and hydrothermal vents before on nature programs, that's the kind of thing we'll be seeing.
Well,
we're going
I'm so excited to see
move some equipment around, put temperature probes in, and that's it. Oh yeah, there it goes. You can see the ROV moving behind us, hopefully.
Very, very cool. So again, we had this chance to see this live robot go down to the seafloor to see some of these really amazing ecosystems. You've been talking about chemosynthesis, which is this very big scientific worm and tube worms over the beginning of this broadcast. So for some of our audience that never heard of a tube worm, what are we talking about here? Because these are some really special creatures.
Yes. So these animals get energy from chemical reactions instead of from photosynthesis because they're so deep. There's all this superheated water that's coming out through these vents and carries a lot of nutrients, sulfide and methane. And the tube worms that Andrew is holding, we have some samples that we took earlier. So these worms start out as tiny larvae, and then when they settle, they lose their guts and mouths, and they get all their energy from bacteria that they have a symbiotic relationship with. So they have a special organ called a trophosome that contains all these bacteria, and that's how they get their energy.
So they're swimming along as a larva, and they eat things like a normal worm larva might, and then they just anchor themselves, and just all those things disintegrate. Like imagine you just plug yourself in, you stand on some soil, your mouth disappears, your gut disappears, and you start absorbing energy through bacteria on your skin, so to speak. Like, I mean, this is so foreign to a mammal.
Yeah, internal bacteria, but they do have a little red plume that sticks up, and that's how they exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide with the water.
For the students that might not have ever seen a tube worm, and I think we've got some cool videos today to share with folks. They're so special, and this red plume is really quite a special thing. So as we've got this amazing screen behind you, I did want to share just a few of the highlights from a recent expedition you guys have been up to. So we'll bring that up now for everyone to sort of check out with us together. And you can tell us a little bit about what's happening as we sort of dive beneath the waves here. So no one's in one of these vehicles. These are all remote operated. So someone is driving one of these like a video game, or how does this work? Oh, I might have frozen again. This is the trick of broadcasting live from a ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We will get him back in a second, but we've got a little bit of our footage here of the fantastic ROPOS machine doing some cool stuff at the bottom in these hydrothermal vents. So as Mike was talking about earlier, these are where the superheated gases are coming up through the seafloor. You have these really cool communities of organisms. You see all that orange there. Those are all living things that live on these really hot, fantastic, and unique ecosystems on the seafloor. Hopefully we get Mike and Andrew back in just a second, but we'll play this as we wait for them to join us again. All right. Oh, I think we might have them back. There we go. Gentlemen, you're back.
We're back. We got
You're back. I was filling in time by telling people about this.
Was launching.
Yes. We had to use a little bandwidth to get the sub actually down in the screen behind it, but we're showing some cool footage of some of the stuff you've been up to in the past. So how hot is this gas?
It can be anywhere from some of the hot vents are 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, all the way up to 400 degrees Celsius. I can't do Celsius to Fahrenheit conversion in my head, but it's very hot. Hot enough that we learned last night that they've occasionally melted parts of the sub by getting too close. So this is a video of the ROPOS submersible, which is operated by the Canadian Scientific Submersible Facility. So they've been helping us, doing an amazing job of getting all the equipment down to the seafloor and manipulating it with they have a little joystick that they use to control the arms on either side of the sub. And so seeing them taking some water samples, temperature measurements. So that's a temperature probe that's sticking into one of these vents. So that's seawater that gets sucked into the seafloor, and then it gets superheated by magma down below the seafloor surface, and then it gets vented up through these chimneys. And as it hits the cold seawater at the bottom of the ocean, metals and other materials start to precipitate out, and it creates these amazing chimneys and vents that the tube worms cluster around.
So how tall are these chimneys too, by the way, out of curiosity? Like, are we talking, again, a few feet? Are these like 100 feet tall? Is it like a skyscraper underwater? And is there ever a risk of like a volcanic eruption? We're talking about magma underneath, and we think about magma, we think about lava, we think about big explosions. Do you find that when you're under the ocean like this, or not? Is it always this sort of calm chimney effect?
I have not personally witnessed that, but that is part of why we're here, is that Axial is an active volcano that has erupted multiple times in the past underwater. So they've recorded lava flowing out onto the seafloor, the kind of explosions you're talking about underwater. creating these amazing plumes of ash and gases exploding out from underwater. And seismic activity, so earthquakes get recorded. So we have seismometers and we have instruments that measure the tilt of the seafloor as magma pockets build up underneath this volcano. And then eventually when it erupts, when the lava erupts onto the seafloor, those pockets collapse. And so you can actually measure the seafloor getting deeper as the lava explodes onto the seafloor.
It's just fascinating because you think about something like the seafloor and you think static forever, like that would never change for a billion years, but we're having this, quite active geology where you're seeing this change in real time. Would there be a danger to the robot underneath the water? Would there be a danger to the ship if something like that happened while you were there? Or are you able to measure that and know that's happening well in advance?
Yeah, so part of what we're doing here is putting instruments down so we know in advance when we think it will erupt, because they know exactly how high the seafloor got before it collapsed. So you can see behind me the screen just flipped to the video from the submersible. So now they're going to descend down to the seafloor. So we're pretty far above the seafloor here, so that I don't think there's any danger to the ship. If the submersible was down, there's a tether that comes from the ROV back, remotely operated vehicle, back to the ship. So they know what's happening in real time. They could probably back off in time and pull it back up if anything was causing a danger to the sub. But most of the time they're able to fly away from any dangerous water. And you asked how high the vents are. So when they're new, they can be just a few inches high, a foot high, and they get at this site. Maybe 6-10 feet high.
Okay.
But there's some that are 10 meters, so about 30 feet high. And then in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, further out from where we are, they can create these immense structures that are kind of like skyscrapers underwater.
Yeah. So again, the video is switched, and one of the things that we really wanted to highlight in this session is that we're doing this live dive as we're talking with you guys, which is so amazing. So this seamount, this is something that, and this is true of a lot of ocean exploration. It's things that people have seen like a few times ever. Like it's not like your local national park where 10 million visitors come all the time. You guys are some of the first people ever to witness this, which is such a special thing about this scientific endeavor. You have this big team, you go in this amazing ship, you've got these cool toys, and you get to go down and see something that, really, other than us now live in this program, it's such a rare occurrence. That must be such a special thing to be able to go to places that people have almost never witnessed firsthand. Like, do you find something new every time you go out? Is it just a magical experience every day, or how does it feel?
I think we froze again in a second.
Oh,
but
that's okay.
amazing. If I understood your question correctly, it feels amazing to sit in the control room and watch as the ROV moves around the seafloor and we see these vents. And sometimes we see animals that we have not seen before at these sites. So yeah, it's incredible. And we bring students from University of Washington out every summer. And so they get to experience it firsthand and ask questions and learn about some of the work that's being done here. And we're out here, there's a team that rotates through, there's engineers and scientists. So it's a full team effort here, and the ship's crew is amazing and support everything that we do. So yeah.
I was going to ask actually how many people are on the ship at any one time, and how long are you actually out on one of these research expeditions? We froze again, but we'll get them back in a second. While we're waiting for them to come back, I will play a clip of one of those creatures that we were talking about a second ago. So some of our students might even be familiar with these guys by now. They're pretty popular in the public imagination of deep sea creatures. So I'll play a little clip of our Dumbo octopus here together, which is such a charismatic and wonderful little creature on the seafloor. There we go. Oh, I think we got Mike and Andrew back. I was asking how many people are on the ship with you guys?
That's a good question. We've got a group of about 20 to 30 scientists and engineers, and then there's another 20 or so crew plus the ROV crew of about 10 people, so they work in shifts. So yeah, we've got about 50 people on board at any one time.
Okay.
The ship is about 200 feet long, so.
Yeah, you're answering all the questions coming in on YouTube too. So Ms. Hill's group, I appreciate it. It's perfect. You're beating them in advance. Now, you talked about bringing students on the ship, and Andrew, you mentioned that you're one of those top seniors. How do you get a role on this ship? Like, did you draw the long straw, or are you just really smart? Or like, if someone wanted to be you ultimately, how do they end up here on the vessel?
Well, freshman year of college, I took Deb's class, and
Explain who Deb is.
Deb is the director of the regional cable array, so she runs this part of OOI. Let me know if I'm saying anything.
She's the project scientist, principal investigator of this.
Okay.
Deb Kelly at University of Washington. So she teaches a deep sea class.
But yeah, Deb is an incredible person. She's super kind, super smart. She studies subsea volcanoes. She's been in a submersible 50 times, and I've seen these things in person. And I kept poking her after class. Basically, it's like, hey Deb, Deb, can I go on the boat? And I applied, and she was really nice to give me a chance. So yeah, it's happens faster than you think.
I think this is actually a good message for all our students, and this is something that we hear a lot. You guys get this chance to be in this amazing research vessel again, doing some of this cutting edge science. And it often begins with just showing that interest, being passionate about something, reaching out to people that are already in. Most scientists and explorers do not bite. They're really keen to share their expertise, to offer those sort of opportunities. And so I'm so glad we actually got that story. So thank you for sharing that, Andrew. And Deb is so happy watching on YouTube, I'm sure, right now, to hear all that about her. So before we got underway with the broadcast, some of our live classes got a little sneak peek as we were talking about this. But I understand you're going to a place called El Guapo soon. So I'm going to play a little bit of a clip of that, and you can tell us why you're going there, what it's all about, like why this specific site, both today and here. Like, did you know that these are going to be particularly cool places? Are you going to explore fairly new regions? Like, what's the inspiration for these locations specifically?
Well, yeah. So El Guapo is a chimney that is at a known hydrothermal vents field. So these hydrothermal vent fields appear when there are water currents coming up and creating these chimneys. So this one is a known location that we have cable running to, and so we have equipment there. So that's why we're going back to deploy some more equipment, some new temperature probes. We put a vent cap down over one of these hydrothermal chimneys to collect water and do some chemical analysis. And we need to adjust the cap to make sure it's in exactly the right location to get the right temperature, water, and get the right measurements. So that's one of the reasons we're going there. This site has been visited a lot of times. And one of the innovations of this project that we're on is that we have the cable, so we get data back in real time, and we can send commands to the instruments here. Usually you have to go out, you have to grant to do your work and get a ship and go out there, and you put something down, and then you leave for a year or however long it takes you to get back and get your...
Oh, we'll come back in a second. Let's get them back while we're watching this together. And yes, for our classes that are sharing questions in the YouTube chat, we are going to get to all those. We're like less than halfway through this broadcast. We've got all the time for all the questions on geology, tectonics, wildlife, and more. I'm going to make sure that Mike and Andrew get that answer for that. There we go. We're back, gentlemen. Sorry, you got the
back.
Yep, you're back. Tell us more.
So where did we cut off?
Oh, dear. I was too busy filling time telling people we were going to answer all these great questions.
So I was just talking about the innovation of the cable array is that we are able to get data back in real time and know if our instruments are working, as opposed to other types of oceanography where you put something in the water and you never know if you're going to get it back. So until you go back out there and get it. So that's one of the reasons why we're going back to El Guapo, is that we know that something can be changed, and we're going to go do that before we leave for the year.
Yeah, fantastic, guys. All right, we talked at the beginning a little bit about some of the wildlife that was down there. And we have our friends at Farmington Middle School, so hello, Ms. Dillon's class, and they missed a little bit of that. They came in a few minutes late. And so I want to just address what we've seen in all these videos, which is that when you go down to these places, and again, it's going to be thousands of feet down, sunlight doesn't reach down there. It's totally dark. Like, these are weird sort of alien environments to what we're used to on the surface. And there's tons of life. So all of that life is getting their energy from these chemicals coming out? Is it some of it coming from another way, maybe dead things coming down? Like, explain some of the types of creatures that you find down there. I know you mentioned tube worms, but what else can we explore and see? when we're down on these vents.
Explain the types of creatures.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, so I think you were asking about the types of creatures we see other than tube worms.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So there's at these vents, there's all kinds of bacteria, all the way up to megafauna like the Dumbo octopus. We did see a Dumbo octopus on this particular leg of the cruise, which was exciting. We also see different types of worms. There's palm worms, in addition to tube worms. They have little tendrils that come out that you can see on some of the videos that Jesse is sharing. There's scale worms around and eat parts of the tube worms. There are fish like rat tails, which are related to cod, but they have a long, skinny tail. We've seen some blob sculpins at this site, which is related to the blob fish that you might have seen pictures of. They kind of look like a little melted face, but they look totally different down at the seafloor.
I'm so glad at this point.
We also see some other types of octopuses and squid.
Well, so you mentioned blobfish, which I'm really happy about because there can be no deep sea program without a mention of a blobfish at this point. I think it's the most
really bad right now.
Oh, that's okay. Are we back? Sorry, Mike and Andrew, can you hear me? Maybe? Right? Think about it. We'll get it back in a sec. Maybe they're discovering so many cool things right now that they can't possibly show us. So I'm going to play some clips of some of these cool, amazing creatures while we're waiting for Mike and Andrew to get back. And again, like this is just, it's so amazing to see this. Can you imagine the first people ever to go down and observe some of these creatures? And for what it's worth, that was not that long ago. We've only really been doing deep sea exploration with robots and people in submersibles in the last like 50, 60 years, which is incredible. We've had the chance to feature quite a few of these sort of iconic research vessels on our program over the last few years. So you can check back again on our YouTube channel. You want to see more about the deep sea and learn about some of those creatures, including blobfish, for those that are particularly keen. They're very, very cool stuff. I think we've got Mike and Andrew back. We're back. This is okay. As deep sea things go, we're actually doing pretty well for connection. I like it. Maybe. All right. We'll see. We'll give it a second. While we're waiting for them, I just want to note a couple more things, and I'm going to share this with our friends on YouTube as well. If you want to learn more about the ship, the RV Thomas G. Thompson, check out the link below. I'll make sure everyone has that link by the end of the broadcast. It really is quite an incredible vessel. These vessels are many, many millions of dollars. They have incredible crews joining from all around the world, all dedicated to this pursuit of science, which I always find just one of the most romantic and exciting things in the world of exploration. So check out the ocean story there. OceanObservatories.org is specific to this mission. So if you want to learn more about what's going on, what they're finding, and so much more, I encourage you to check that out. And if you'd like some of the videos that I've been sharing, again, when I was a boy, if people went out on research expeditions in the sea, you know, we found out about that 5-6 years down the road. Now you have this unprecedented chance to see live what's happening from some of these voyages. You can tune in anytime, any day on something like this site to see the video archive of what they've discovered in the last few weeks and months, see some of those creatures, see some of the robots in action. I can't encourage you enough to check that out. It's such a special opportunity to learn more. And for those of you on Instagram, again, RV Thomas G. Thompson, you can just check them out there, see some of the cool pictures of everything that they are finding. All right. I think we might have them back. Gentlemen, with feeling. Hello.
Are we back?
You're back. Bravo. So what I think we might do is dive in with questions with some of our classes. We've been getting a whole bunch pouring in on YouTube. If we can do that, are you good to go with questions? Yes? Maybe? Oh. We've reached the peak cutout session, but we did get most of the program in, worst case scenario, but hopefully we're all in together in just a sec. Let's see. What's some of our...
Right now.
Okay. What's FX?
That's the other stream.
Play around with that for just a second. I'll keep an eye on if they're coming in. And kids, I see your hands up. We're going to come to you guys in just 2 seconds, I swear. I want to make sure that we have the experts to answer the questions rather than me, because I just be making stuff up as I go along, and I don't want to do that to you guys. But again, while we're waiting, if you want to check out our YouTube channel, some of our other amazing programs, you can see this there. You can see this program after the fact on our YouTube channel indefinitely. And we've got some other cool stuff coming up with the Thomas G. Thompson in the weeks to come as well on their research voyage. So they lost their satellite connections. The marine technicians are working on it. So we're all going to cross our fingers from the marine technicians. It sounds like a very competent kind of profession. So I'm sure they're going to be back in business very, very shortly. And we'll check in. Mike and Andrew, you're back.
We're back.
Hello.
The technicians are great on the ship. They've
They
been
are.
super helpful.
Bravo to the technicians, all of them. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to dive in with questions.
Liz and Josh. Shout out to Liz and Josh.
Liz and Josh, you guys are a hero. All hail Liz and Josh. Thank you for making this possible. Let's dive in with our questions, folks. So Mr. Stone is joining us from a statewide school across Idaho with 9 through 12. So he's been sharing some questions in the chat. But Mr. Stone, I'm going to come to you to share one live on camera with us. Hello, Mr. Stone. Hi. What do you want to share? You have so many questions in the chat. You got to pick one to start.
Can you explain some of the plate tectonics that's going on down there underneath the Axial Seamount?
Yeah, fantastic.
The question got a little garbled, so I'm not
yeah.
sure I understood.
Now we're gonna. Can you explain the plate tectonics down there? I'll put this in a banner too for everybody. There you go. Perfect.
My background is in marine biology, so I am probably going to mangle this. But we are on the edge of the Juan de Fuca plate, which is being subducted, meaning it's being forced down below the next continent.
Oh, Liz and Josh are going to get back on the case. The connection. You're back. Juan de Fuca plate being subducted.
Yes, so it's moving towards us and it's being pushed down under the continental plate that the West Coast is sitting on. And so that's what's creating a lot of the seismic activity and what is bringing a lot of that magma up near the surface at this location. And there's all along the edge of the Juan de Fuca plate, all the way up past Canada, there are these types of vents and seep sites and all kinds of interesting.
For our students, I know when I was a boy, the thing that really stuck with me was the idea of the ring of fire. You've got this big plate that's sort of being hemmed in by all these other plates around in the Pacific Ocean. And so you have a lot of seismic activity, volcanoes, earthquakes, and more up Japan, up through Alaska and Russia, down Canada and the US West Coast. And so you have some of these really special ecosystems that are there sort of preferentially more than anywhere else on the planet. That's why a lot of research happens there. So that's our biologist by bachelor's degree and serious biologist explanation of some of the plate tectonics. Thank you, Mr. Stone. Miss Bullock's class, Catala, Georgia, welcome in, guys. Unmute your mic and come on in if you have a question for us. Hey.
Come on.
We're doing outreach event if you want to wave.
This is Pam, everybody.
Good to go, man.
Hi.
That's Pam. It's her birthday today.
Yay.
Hey, Pam, happy birthday.
It's true.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday.
So what was your question, man? Come on up.
How does the metal on the robot withstand the heat from the volcano?
Great question. I love it. How is your robot not just melting down there by these hot vents? It seems pretty dicey. And I'll put this in writing too.
I think we're back. I'm not sure.
No. There we go. I'm putting it in the chat. Putting it in the chat too. There we go. That's the question.
Okay. So most of the metal on the ROV is titanium. But even then, they try not to get too close to the superheated water. Also, because of the physics of water and how it the heat from the vent dissipates really quickly as you get away from that plume. So it's really, really hot inside the chimney, but even a few millimeters, tiny distance away, it drops rapidly. And so as long as they don't stick plastic or metal with a low melting temperature too far into the vent, the ROV is safe. But we did learn yesterday of a couple incidents where that has happened in the past, where scientists asked for something to move closer to the chimney and they have melted parts of the ROV before, and then they have to bring it back up and fix it. So it is an occupational hazard at this site.
that scientist has to like wash all the dishes the rest of the day on the ship, I think, when they suggest something like that. But I love that answer. This is something that we've learned from some of our other remote operated vehicles down below. When you open your oven and it's 400 degrees, you feel that heat from quite a ways away. Underwater, it's a little bit different. It literally dissipates. You can get a lot closer to that heat source without getting hot. Great question, Ms. Blood student. Okay, I'm going to take a question from YouTube, and then we're going to head to Mr. Hancock in a minute. Don't worry, 4B and our FMS Lunch and Learn, we're coming to you guys soon too. But Ms. Dester's class, they're joining us in Kansas today at the Charlotte Academy. They want to know how you, or Nate wants to know, how do you find the volcano to begin with? Like, why? How do you know that specific spot had a volcano?
I don't know the story of how Axial Volcano was found. I believe they followed the seismic activity and sort of found the epicenter of where it was all coming from. And also you can look for chemical, one of the ways they find these vents at the volcano is that you can follow the chemical signature all the way down through the water column, because these plumes, are very strong and concentrated near the vent, but that the chemical signature comes all the way up near the surface. And so you can follow that down and discover where these little vent locations are located on the seafloor.
Very cool.
But a lot of them were discovered by accident.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess a way of analogizing this for some of our students is that if you hear a noise, you sort of know the direction that it came from and can start walking in that direction. Same thing with chemical elements, same thing with that seismic activity. You can sort of find out where it came from and sort of go in that general area, look with a robot, and hey, you found a volcano. It's very cool when you find a volcano. That's the best thing.
And if you have sensors in different locations, you can sort of triangulate the position to where it originates.
Very cool. Thanks, Mike. All right, Mr. Hancock, joining us in Georgetown, Ontario. If you have a question for us, come on in. Hey.
Hey, Mike and Andrew, we're home. My kids are going back to school next week, and I'm going back to work next week. But Edie had a question here. She had a question about the robot.
Hi, Edie.
Fire away.
What were you wondering, Edie, about the robot?
What if the robot breaks underwater?
Sounds pretty dicey.
What do we do?
The pilot that question. But if the robot breaks underwater, which does happen occasionally, there's a lot of complex hydraulics and electronics and cameras and thrusters. And so they do have that tether that comes from the ship, and there's a control room further aft towards the back of the ship. And so they're flying the robot from there. If they notice something going wrong, they can shut down that part of the robot and then bring it back up. So it's connected to that tether, and the tether is connected to a crane that they use to lift it in and out of the water off the deck of the ship. And so they can usually bring it back up. And the robot has a lot of flotation on it, and so they keep it pretty well ballasted, so it's neutrally buoyant, so it doesn't float to the surface and it doesn't sink to the seafloor. And so they can easily, even if it loses power, they can usually get it back up to the ship. But we try not to wish that into existence by talking about it too much.
Yeah. Okay, so no more mention of robots breaking anybody, okay? We're in this together.
I don't want to make her feel bad about her question. That's a great question.
It's a great question, and I like that the answer is that you have a lot of contingency plans. And this is something that we see a lot in deep sea research and space research. There's a lot of ways that people have planned for how things can go wrong. You guys train for this. You have a lot of ways of making sure that like big tech flaws don't happen, because it can mean the loss of millions of dollars of equipment. It can mean the loss of life in certain circumstances. So it's really important to have this built in. So I appreciate that question. Thanks, Edie. All right, 4B, we're going to go to Illinois. You guys have a question for us? Hey, guys, everyone's got a question. I love it.
Everyone's got questions. So I'm going to have, let's see. Oh, lots of people have questions, more than I knew. Serene, come on up. Serene, come on up. Oh, you don't have a question. All right, Julian, you've been waiting on your question. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, how many species do you find regularly?
Yeah, great question, man. So if you didn't get that, I'll put it in the chat as well. But how many species do you find regularly? There we go. Hopefully this comes through. There. Thinking about it.
Oh, that's a good question. There's a few species that we always see at these sites. So, tube worms and mussels and crabs and octopuses, and then there's a few more that are rare, but we have a biology catalog that we use to help the students identify things that we see on the video. what's your best guess estimate of the species that we see?
Oh, well, at the vents,
Okay, there's I'd say there's 10 or 15 species that are endemic, which means we always find them here and they need to be at the vent. And then there's fish and crabs that sort of wander in from outside. So you never really know what you're going to see. And also we see a lot of things as we come down through the water column. We see jellies and different kinds of gelatinous organisms and fish that sort of get attracted to the lights of the submersible. So yeah, you never quite know what you're going to see when we go down, which is one of the exciting things about being out here.
It really is. And I mean, I always like to highlight, we have had a deep sea biologist come on many times in the program. Her name is Dr. Diva Aman. And she talks about the fact that in terms of ecosystem, like the amount of space for animals to live on this planet, if you tally up all the forests, all the deserts, everything, I think it's about 90% of the ecosystems on Earth are deep ocean. So there's so much to explore. We always do find new things, and it makes it such a special area of inquiry. And I love that question. So thank you so much in Illinois. FMS Lunch and Learn. You guys have been asking the best questions. Oh, they have had to go. So they've been sharing them all in the chat, and so I can make sure that they get these questions in and we can answer them later for everybody. So let's see from FMS Lunch and Learn. Are there other facilities across the world that are also studying these thermal vents, and how do you collaborate being from different countries? So who else is doing this, and do you get people from all over the world joining you?
We do. There are many groups, many individual scientists, and also big projects that look at these hydrothermal vents at universities all around the United States and also all around the world. We try to coordinate it has happened before that multiple ships are out here at the same time doing work, and the captains talk to each other and make sure that we're not interfering with each other. And we have had researchers from other countries join us on these because we do occasionally have extra days that we can devote to project science. So yeah, we collaborate really well. And we're actually, one of the things that we're going to do on this dive is deploy some equipment that another scientist planned to deploy on a previous cruise and wasn't able to. So yeah, we try to accept collaboration agreements from all over the world. But there's groups in Japan, there's groups in Canada, there's groups in Europe that come out here. So yeah, Axial Volcano in particular is a very special place that has been studied by many groups over the last 50 years or so.
Perfect. Great answer. And then a quick follow-up from them, as I know they have to go soon, so I'll just say hi to Miss Dillon. I know you're connected. But you wanted to ask, hi. You wanted to ask about Yeti crabs. So Yeti crabs, for people who don't know, are these like magical creatures that are like pale yellow. They got like furry arms, and what they do with these is literally like wave them through the water, and they grow bacteria on their arm and just go and just like eat it off, and they're the coolest, freakiest things ever. Have you seen Yeti crabs? I have to know.
Unfortunately, I have not seen Yeti crabs at this location, but they do exist at hydrothermal vents in the southern hemisphere and other places in the middle of the Pacific. This particular vent site does not seem to have any Yeti crabs. They need specific environments. So that, yeah, there's the ones that wave their arms. There's other ones that have even longer claws, and they just sort of sit and, like you said, they eat the bacteria that are growing on their furry claws.
Very cool.
So there's a number of different species of them.
Yeah. Awesome. Great question, Ms. Dillon. And I know you guys have to go soon, so thank you so much for those. I know some of our classes in general have to go soon. So we're going to do a few more questions with everyone who's left and some of our YouTube folks. We're only at the 38-minute mark. We're flying by with these questions. And so Ms. Hill's group wants to know, interesting. Does the magma from the volcanoes poison the marine life in the immediate area? So we've got these communities of things that are living on the vents, but for other things that maybe would have existed elsewhere, does this drive them away? Like, is this a unique amount of fauna, or is there any impact of these vents to other things, or do we even know?
Some of the animals at the vent actually enjoy the types of chemicals that come out of the magma as it off gases, but it's super hot and it can pave over these vents. That's why some of these animals at the vents grow incredibly quickly, because these vents appear and then they grow, and then the superheated fluid moves in another direction, and so the vent can die out. And they have to move to a new location. But during an eruption, the basalt rock can collapse, and these vent structures collapse. And some of these vents get paved over entirely. And so we've gone back to places that have many tens of meters of new rock on top of an event that we used to go to. So yeah, these things change quickly, and the animals either flee or they, if they're settled like the tube worms, they end up underneath the magma, underneath the lava.
This is one of the things I love about scientists most, that we can talk about cataclysms for wildlife or other things with such glee. It's pretty exciting stuff getting to explore these ecosystems. So very, very cool. Okay, we've got time for 3 or 4 more questions. Miss Michael's group, I know you guys have to go in a second, so I'll come to you first, and then Mr. Stone, Miss Bullock, and one from YouTube. You're back in. What's your final question? Come on back.
Okay, one more question. Rocky, come on up.
Come on back. Come on back.
Rocky, come on up.
Hey.
How deep? Hi. How
Hi.
deep do
Hi.
you go? Hi.
The deep.
Yep,
The deepest we go on this particular cruise is about 9,514 feet, which is 2,900 meters, which is our deepest site at the base of the continental slope. We also go to a site that's a little bit shallower, 2,600 meters, and that's at the base of this volcano. So we have a site that's right at the base, and then we fly up into the caldera, which is the crater at the center of the volcano.
Wait, so again, from a visualization perspective, we've got a volcano like this. You're going down to the outer edge of it and then coming up and then going in. Like that is, it's very cool. Andrew, you were good to just beg and plead to end up on the ship. It's a very cool ship. All right, let's head to Mr. Stone's group, Idaho. If you guys have a question for us, come on in. Hey, guys. Mr. Stone. Oh, there we go.
Was that plasma? Was that fire on the top of El Guapo we saw, even at that pressure?
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Oh, did you hear that, gentlemen?
We did not.
Okay.
Also, the crew is cleaning something outside. We got a little louder in here.
Let's. I just put it in the chat too, just in case. Was it plasma or fire on El Guapo, even at that depth of pressure was coming out?
It was neither. It was actually the superheated fluid. So it was just fluid coming out. It looks like a little plasma jet, but as it comes out of this chimney, it gets constricted, and so it comes out really fast and hot. And so sometimes it can even give off a little light if you shut off the lights of the submersible. So it's just water that's super hot with a lot of chemicals in it.
Thanks, Mr. Stone's class. All right, I'm going to take one from Miss Dester in Kansas, and then we're going to go to Miss Bullock's to wrap up in a second. So Seth really wants to know, do you ever have people go down there? So we're talking about these amazing robotic vehicles, which are super, super cool. Do you ever get the chance to go down in a submersible or anything as well?
I have been in a submersible, but that was on a different project. This project, we do most of our work with the robotic submersible. It requires a very special ship and very specialized crew to launch the sub, and there's some specific projects that can be done better with the human occupied submersible. But the type of work that we do, where we're bringing equipment down, sort of latched underneath the robotic submersible or attached to the front of the sub. You can actually see behind me, that's the porch of the ROV, and so they can attach equipment to that and bring it down, and then unbungee it. They have bungee straps that they use to connect it. Anyway, the type of work that we're doing requires this type of robotic submersible. So no, on this project we don't send people down.
But I love
people
that
do
Andrew.
Alvin. Yeah.
I love that, Andrew, you said I wish. Like, I mean, this is the thing, is that with space and deep sea exploration, robotics are cheaper. You can do more things with them. You can send them down in places that you couldn't send people in. So it opens up a lot of doors for exploration and research. But there is a real romance to going down in a submersible. And again, maybe a low thousands of people ever have been in a submersible. So it's one of the most unique experiences on this planet that people can have, and so special. So I'm really glad we got that question. Thanks, Miss Dester. Catala, Georgia, we're coming back to you guys. We're rebels. We're going to go a little bit longer than we usually do, but I want to take one more from Miss Bullock's class.
No way.
From there. Hey, guys. Hello. Yes. Hi.
What is like the time difference from the magma cooling in water and on land?
Ooh, cool question. So if you didn't get that, let me come back in. This is gonna take a second to write. What is the time difference between how fast magma cools on land versus water. Okay, almost there, everybody. Adding banner. Okay.
Okay, I got it. I'm gonna wait for the chat to catch up.
Yep. Oh, see, we're doing very cool submersible things now, and it's messing with our connection as we wrap up here. There we go.
I don't
You
think
got
the
that?
chat has updated.
Yep.
No, I think we missed the question. Something about how fast magma moves on the seafloor versus on land.
Cools versus.
Oh, how fast it cools.
Oh. Yeah.
It cools almost immediately. So you can actually, there's some videos online. If you look for underwater eruption, you can actually see that some people have been at sites that are erupting, and you can see the lava come out red hot and then almost immediately cool down and become basalt rock, which is why we have these little pockets that sometimes collapse and, lava coming out and folding up on top of other eruptions. So yeah, it happens incredibly fast underwater. And I don't know what the specific timing is, but much faster underwater than on land.
That's okay. But I do. Instead of watching cat videos later today, skip one of your 4 cat videos and watch underwater eruptions instead. It's well worth your time. Super, super cool. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We've got such a great group of classes that have been sharing so many questions. I know we could take more all day long, but I wanted to leave it to you. Is there any last thing you want to share with our classes about this expedition, how they can learn more, anything that you want them to take home from today's program? While you're answering, I'll share some of those links again that I've been highlighting, but please, anything that you want to share with us.
Just that we're super excited to be out here as part of the Ocean Observatories Initiative, learning more about the seafloor. We are extremely happy to answer any questions. If you do come up with questions afterwards and you send them to us, we're more than happy to answer questions about it. If you throw the Interactive Oceans live video, so oceanobservatories.org is where you can learn more about the Ocean Observatories Initiative, which is, there's installations on the East Coast, the West Coast, up near Alaska, and up in the Erminger Sea, up near Greenland. So we have installations other than the cabled array all around the United States. But if you go to that Visions 22 live video, you can follow along on these dives. We're going to turn the live stream back on as soon as we're off here, so you can watch this dive at International District. Go to El Gordo vent. Andrew, anything else you'd like to say?
I mean, it was fun talking with all of you. I always get really happy when younger people are interested in the deep ocean. I always thought when I was younger it was a very niche thing. So keep asking questions, please. We need more deep sea enjoyers and scientists out there.
Absolutely true.
Remember to poke your professors.
Yes. Always ask questions. Always.
Yeah. Oh, one more time. Wait till we get them back. While we're waiting, I just want to note, they mentioned that you can share additional questions. Please feel free to email us at exploringbytheseatofyourpants, ebtsoip@gmail.com. We can pass those along to Mike and Andrew and get you all those additional answers. And personally, for me, the coolest ocean thing I've ever seen in terms of deep sea stuff is in Blue Planet 2 by BBC Earth. They've got a deep ocean episode in that is the single greatest hour of natural history documentation ever done. I've been sharing all the links in the chat with everyone, but we will follow up with all registered classes. So you can get all those links and more. Thank you all so much for being here. And if we can get Mike and Andrew back, I'll do a big wave and say goodbye with Mr. Stone. I don't know if we're going to. They're bringing back the Submersible, but I'll bring in Mr. Stone, Miss Bullock's class, FMS Lunch and Learn, Mike and Andrew. Hopefully their connection gets working again soon. Gentlemen, have a wonderful day. Classes, see you all soon. And thank you so much for joining us for program number 1. Mike and Andrew, bye to you guys. And we'll end our